Hello there. This is about unit rates, but there are going to be some things that you need to know about first, such as what's a ratio, what is a rate, and then what is a unit rate. Okay, so I hope you have some paper out. You don't need to write everything down yet, especially these little fish problems. This is more like bringing you back to kindergarten. So you have this beautiful aquarium of fish in it. You want to know what the ratio of green fish to orange fish is. So first of all, what in the world is a ratio? A ratio is when you compare two things. So in this case, we're going to compare green fish to orange fish. And right now, I see two beautiful green fish in there, and I see four. These kind of look mean. The orange fish look mean to me. So those are four orange fish. So how do you write a ratio? There's three different ways, and you need to be able to write them three different ways. Well, first of all, the word green fish, oh, that was my eraser. The word green fish was first in my problem, so I need to make sure that I include green fish first. Orange fish is second, so that means it needs to be in the second part of my ratio. And I'm hoping you're thinking I'm a little nuts right now because there's not four fish, there's actually 5 orange fish. Sorry about that. Okay, back to our ratios. Here's the first way you could write it, with the word 2. So your ratio is 2 to 5. Second way, using a colon. Third way, making a fraction. Those are the three different ways you can write a ratio. The one we are probably going to use the most will be the fraction. And when you think about a fraction, it's also like a division sign. So that's why we use that method more. So this is straight out of your textbooks. It says runners often try to establish a steady running pace. Zan ran the last 2 miles of her 3-mile training run in 11 minutes. Now, if you are in track or you want to be in track, that is a really fast time. So 2 miles in 11 minutes. Okay, so Zan's pace, which is really the number of minutes compared to the number of miles, can be expressed as a ratio. So remember I said a ratio is when you compare two things, in this case two quantities. So the two things we're comparing is minutes she ran to number of miles she ran. So look at the three different ways down here that we can write Zan's pace as a ratio. With the word 2, as a colon, or with the colon, and as a fraction. Again, this is probably what we'll use the most. So that's a ratio, comparing two things. So Zan ran the first mile in 5 minutes. You need to write the ratio 5 minutes to 1 mile in two other ways. So pause the video, write it on your paper. Okay, hopefully your two other ways that you wrote was 5 to 1. If you want to write the units in there, that's fine. And the second way, you should have written it as a fraction, 5 to 1. Since the ratios that describe Zan's run compare minutes to miles, they're actually called rates. So the difference between a ratio and a rate, not that big of a difference, but here's the difference. Boop, boop, boop. A rate is where you actually, the two quantities you're being compared are measured in different units. For example, minutes and miles are different. They're not the same thing. One is length and one is time. So that's why it's a rate. You think back to the fish, you're comparing different colors, but you're really comparing the same thing. You're comparing fish to fish. So that's just a ratio. That would not be a rate. So a rate is when your quantities are different units. So let's go down here to number 4a. Suppose Zan walked 1 mile after every 3-mile run. Write a ratio that compares the number of miles she walked to the number of miles she ran. So first thing that I would do is, well, the first thing they want is number of miles walked to number of miles she ran. So our first number better represent walked. So she walked 1 mile, so that would be 1 mile walking, compared to the number of miles she ran. Well, she ran 3 miles. So there's my ratio, 1 mile to 3 miles. So now your question, is this a ratio or a rate? And explain why. So write down on your paper what you think it is and why, and then unpause it. So hopefully you said that it is a ratio, because if you look at the two things I'm comparing, they're the same. So that's why it's not going to be a rate, and we just call it a ratio. Okay, now next thing you need to know, a unit rate. A unit rate compares two different units, just like we talked about before. But what's different about a unit rate is it compares it for just one unit given. What in the world does that mean? So have you ever gone to like the grocery store and you find out, oh, it costs like $7 per 1 pound? That would be a unit rate because it's per one thing. You could also write that as 7/1. If you're getting gas at the gas station, outside of a Holiday gas station, it might say gas is going to be $4.20 per gallon. That's a unit rate because you're comparing it, it's out of one, so it's per one. And the easiest way that I think about it, a unit rate will always have the 1 in the denominator. That's where it always, always, always will be. Okay. So number 5A. It's, okay, which of Zan's rates, 5 minutes to 1 mile or 11 minutes to 2 miles, is a unit rate? So in other words, which one is comparing it to 1? So pause the video, write down your answer. Hopefully you said 5 minutes to 1 mile because that's where the 1 is. This is just a rate, not a unit rate. B, which rate do you think is faster? Well, let's write them down as fractions. 5 minutes to 1 mile or 11 minutes to 2 miles. So if you look at these, are they equal? If you want, you can make this into an equivalent fraction. So now you're comparing 10 minutes to 2 miles or 11 minutes to 2 miles. Now be careful. Which one is faster? Oops, that's minutes, isn't it? 10 minutes to 2 miles, right? So if I run 2 miles, this person runs it in 10 minutes, this person runs it in 11 minutes. Who was faster? Hopefully you said this one because if you have a smaller time, you went faster. For example, if I raced you in the mile around the Jefferson track or the Kennedy track, it would, if I ran it in 10 minutes and you ran it in 6 minutes, yeah, you finished a lot faster than me. Okay, let's do some more. Is this a ratio, or is this ratio, sorry, a unit rate? Write your answer on your paper. You should have said no. Here's why. This is not a 1. That has to be a 1 down there if it's going to be a unit rate. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. Go through each of these. We'll start with just this side, rate. And I want you to write it down if you think it's a rate. If you don't think it's a rate, don't write it down. So pause the video and write down which ones of these do you think are rates. Okay, hopefully you said this one because you're comparing CDs to money, and those are different units, so that is a rate. Should have said this one, you're comparing money to pounds, different units. You should have said this one, money to hours is two different units, and this works too, money to hours. So kind of tricky on that one. They're all rates. Okay, next, same thing. Come over here on your paper, write down which ones out of these 4 do you think are unit rates, and I think I just gave the answer away. And then pause it, come back. Okay, so this definitely a unit rate because it's 95 feet per second, which means per 1 second. So that is a unit rate. So is this 45 miles per hour, which means miles per 1 hour. That's a unit rate. This, boo, not a unit rate. It's per 5 hours, not 1. And down here, boo, that's per 12 pounds, not 1 pound. I don't know if you saw my crossed out ones, but I kind of gave it away. Okay, now how do you calculate a unit rate? So Alicia earned $84 for an 8-hour shift. What is her hourly rate? Well, what you're really doing is $84 divided by 8 hours. So pause the video, take your calculator, divide that out. You should have gotten 10.5. Now the tricky part is how do you label that? Well, you're doing money divided by hours, So that's how you want to label it, money per hour. So that'd be $10.50 per 1 hour. That would be her hourly rate. So every hour she works, she gets $10.50. Down here, Mrs. Douglas, Alicia's mom, teaches math at a school that has 870 students and 29 teachers. What is the number of students per teacher? So again, we want students per teacher. So we would do 870 divided by 29. Pause the video, calculate it up. Okay, you should have gotten an answer of 30. The hardest part is, how do you label it? Well, the rate is students per teacher, so exactly that. There's 30 students per 1 teacher, which seems like a typical class size. Okay, here's some more. Write 8 pens for $5 as a unit rate. Why don't you pause the video, try both of these, and then come back and see how you did. Okay, so first of all, if you did 8 divided by the $5, you would have gotten 1.6. But you got to make sure you label it right. We're doing pens for money, so that would be 1.6 pens for every dollar. And yeah, you're not going to buy 6/10 of a pen, but that's just how you write the unit rate. Now, there is another way. You could also think of it as $5 per 8 pens. What if you did this division problem? 5 divided by 8. Then you'd get 0.625. How would I label that? Money divided by pens, so this would be money per 1 pen. And then money you always want to round to the nearest cent, so it actually would be 63 cents per 1 pen. Both of these are acceptable. I would probably go with the first one right here, because that's how it originally wrote it. But if you're like, I just kind of want to know how much it would be per pen, because that makes more sense, then that would be it. Down below, you probably did 200 divided by 4 and got 50. How did you label it though? Miles divided by hours, so it should be 50 miles per 1 hour. So for every hour that I drove, I went 50 miles. Okay, try these. Pause the video, and then when you're done, pause it again. Okay, when you're checking your work, you probably divided that way and got 14. Hopefully you labeled it marbles per bag. For B, here's what I did first. I did 3 divided by 180, and I got a crazy weird decimal. I rounded it right there, and I labeled it hours per page. But then I thought, well, that's kind of funny. I don't really want to know how long it's going to take me per page. I'd rather know how many pages I would read per hour. So I divided it this way and got 60. So I said 60 pages per hour. Both are unit rates. You just need to decide which one makes more sense for you to use. But I accept both of them. To me, this one makes more sense. And C, if you did 5 divided by 16, that would be this. And if you labeled it, well, that's pounds per dollar, so you need to label it, that's how many pounds I get for every $1 I spend. Typically, though, when I'm in the store, it's not how much per $1 I get, it's how much per pound. So I would actually set it up like this, my dollars per pound. So 16 divided by 5 is 3.2. So that means $3.20 per 1 pound. To me, this unit rate makes more sense. I'd probably use that more. But again, both are unit rates and acceptable. Okay, and then the last thing we're going to do is a better buy. So suppose pens are packaged in 2 ways. Actually, I think we'll make this a different video. So if you want to try this one, it's going to be unit rates video part 2 coming up. So bring all your notes to class on unit rates so we can talk about them, and if you have any more questions. All right, bye-bye.